Before beginning this tape, I would like to take this opportunity out to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide my heart, as well as to make my intention pure and solely for Him and Him alone. And then I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likewise to guide the hearts of the listeners of this tape, as well as their niyyah. This tape is a refutation against a very popular personality in America. And this personality has a lot of people who are affected by his da'wah. And the intention of this tape is not to bash this man and the people who love him and reverence him. No. The intention of the tape is to set right some of the deviation or some of the damage that this man has done because of the deviation that he calls to. There are many people in America who deserve to be refuted, whether it's by tapes or whether it's by writing, whatever the case may be. Many people, there are many deviants in America. But some of the da'wahs that are present in America are more dangerous than others. And this da'wah is no doubt a da'wah that is extremely dangerous to the growth and the physical well-being of our ummah in America. This man's da'wah has affected people around the globe, in the Muslim countries and the non-Muslim countries alike. And the only reason why this da'wah continues to attract adherents to it and listeners to it is because of the ignorance of the Muslims concerning the way of the Salaf as-Salih. If the Muslims only knew the way the Salaf were, the way they understood the religion, the way they practiced the religion, whenever any deviation comes to them, whoever the person is, whenever it comes to them, they know this is a deviation, this is not of the Salaf, and he rejects it. As the Prophet ﷺ said in the authentic hadith, "Man ahdatha fi amrina hadha ma laysa minhu fahuwa radd." Whoever introduces or invents something in this affair of ours, meaning this religion of ours, and it's not of it, he will have it rejected. It will be rejected. It's as simple as that, if we only know. So I feel that it's absolutely imperative, I feel that it's wajib upon me to make this tape and to send it to the brothers and the sisters of the area to be a warning to them. In spite of the fact, for the last year and a half since we've been sending these tapes, we've been warning about this type of mentality and this type of da'wah. And we've told the people that this da'wah is not the da'wah of the Salaf, but it's the da'wah of one of the deviant groups. As a matter of fact, one of the first deviant groups that came out of Al-Islam. The man that I'm going to refute in this tape, inshallah ta'ala, is a Sheikh Umar Abdur-Rahman al-Masri. The Egyptian Sheikh Umar Abdur-Rahman. Everyone knows the Sheikh. And there are many people in the area who are dear to me, who love the Sheikh, and who have a lot of respect for the Sheikh. Many people who I know. And these people in particular are the ones who I would like to make a request from. My first request, Ikhwan, is that when you listen to this tape, I hope and I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes your niyyah sincere, and that He purifies your heart for you, and that He protects you from your nafs, so that inshallah you will judge the tape academically, scholastically, unemotionally, and you judge what I say according to the Qur'an and the Sunnah, and you judge what the Shaykh says according to the Qur'an and the Sunnah. The Shaykh's da'wah is the da'wah of the Khawarij. The Khawarij were a group of people who went outside of the rule of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and they started to make takfir of the Muslims, saying that the Muslims were kuffar, Ali was a kafir, and some of the Sahabas were kuffar, and they killed many of the Muslims. Because if they make takfir of the Muslims, they start to give the judgment that Muslims can be killed as a result of that. And this is the da'wah of the Shaykh. And not only that, but the Khawarij killed innocent people. All the time calling what they were doing, this deviation, they were calling it jihad, fi sabilillah. They were calling it bringing back the power of Islam, bringing back the honor of Islam. Killing the Sahabas, killing innocent people, and this is jihad. Anyway, Ikhwan, I have a tape that came into my possession here in Medina, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to send the original copy of this tape to the responsible people there, so that they can compare the original copy with the segments that I took out of the tape. I'm only going to deal with the parts of the tape where the Shaykh clearly has deviated from the Sirat al-Mustaqim and the way of the Sahabas and the Tabi'een and Atba' Tabi'een. This tape is a lecture that the Shaykh gave in America a year and a half ago. And obviously there was a person who translated the tape, and he translated it right on the spot. He didn't do the Shaykh justice in his translation. And the authorities there will have the original where they will come to that same conclusion. So what I've done is I've taken it upon myself to translate the tape as it should be translated. Give you exactly what the Shaykh said. Because the brother who translated left out the majority of the things that were being said. So I'm going to translate word for word, phrase for phrase, inshallah ta'ala, the kalam or the speech of the Shaykh, and then after that I'm going to refute it. And I'm not going to refute it to bash the Shaykh or to disrespect him or his followers. No. And this is a point that needs to be understood. Because unfortunately, in America, there are many people who deserve to be refuted. Many people. There are many deviants, many leaders who need to be refuted. But I feel that this da'wah of the Shaykh is one of the most dangerous da'wahs, and that's why I'm going to deal with this. Those leaders and those personalities, if you so much as disagreed with an opinion that one of those leaders takes, if he makes an opinion and you disagree with that opinion, based upon dalil from the Qur'an and the Sunnah, you'll find many times that the followers of that leader will take your disagreement with their leader as a personal attack on the leader and on them. If the leader, for an example, says that he wants to make a madhab, a new madhab, a unified madhab for the people of America, personally I think that's ludicrous. I think that's insane, personally. I think that's a foolish statement. When I say that, the people who support this person will take that as a direct insult against their leader. They won't ask me, what's your proof for that? What causes you to say that, Akhi? Maybe I have something that's authentic and that's correct that allows me to say such a thing. But they don't want to know about that. And it's very difficult to understand how one can put himself in a position where he doesn't allow another person to form and to develop his own understanding, especially if his understanding is based upon the Qur'an and the Sunnah. We have to take this condition that it must be based upon the Qur'an and the Sunnah with the understanding according to the Sahaba. Because a person may say, well, you're allowed your own opinion, so therefore he comes up with the opinion that democracy is Islamic, that socialism is Islamic, or whatever other kind of ism that you can think of. So simply because a person disagrees with a leader or a personality or another Muslim for that matter, we should have enough Islamic adab to be able to disagree and to argue our points according to the Qur'an and the Sunnah and the way of the Sahabas. I would also like to request from those people who I mentioned previously that they take the time out to listen to the tape more than once, and then after listening to the tape, make a decision. If they find that what I said is wrong, then I would ask that they send me the points that I made mistakes on. And if they find out that the things that I said was correct, and they were supported by the Qur'an and the authentic Sunnah and the understanding of the Sahabas, then we will hope that they would also stop supporting the Shaykh in this da'wah and stop believing in these things that he has been calling to. It's not enough just to listen to the tape and then to agree with the tape or disagree with the tape. If a person disagrees with the tape, then I will ask them to please send me the proofs by which they stand on, so that inshallah I can come to the haqq if I'm wrong. And if I'm right, I will hope and I will pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens their hearts, He touches their hearts to allow them to come to the way of the Sahabas and those people who came after them and the generation who came after them. And with that, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide our hearts and to guide our tongues, and to make us of those who, when they hear the word and they find that it is the haqq, they follow it. For verily the haqq has more right to be loved and to be followed than anything else. And with that, nabda'u bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
إن الله يحب الذين يقاتلون في سبيله صفا كأنهم بنيان مرصوص. في سبيله فلا بد أن يكون الجهاد في سبيل الله، لا في سبيل قومية عربية ولا أمريكية ولا غيرها من القوميات، ولا في سبيل جنس ولا وطن، إنما في سبيل الله. ثم إن الجهاد هو رأس الأمر وعموده وذروة سنامه، وهو الذي يحقق للمسلمين المجد والعزة والسؤدد والقوة والنصر من عند الله. حينما استمسك المسلمون به فتح الله عليهم البلاد وسادوا، وأصبح المسلمون يملكون القارتين العظميين في أوائل الإسلام، ثم ألحوا بالغزو على القارة الثالثة وأمسكوا مفاتيح البحار، وأصبحت المحيطات والبحار بحيرات إسلامية يحيط بها المسلمون من كل مكان. فلما انصرفوا عن الجهاد ذهب العز والمجد والسؤدد، وأصبح المسلمون قد تناساهم العالم ونسيهم التاريخ، وتداعت عليهم الأمم كما تداعت الأكلة إلى قصعتها، كما أخبر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: يوشك أن تداعى عليكم الأمم كما تداعى الأكلة إلى قصعتها. قالوا: أو من قلة نحن يومئذ يا رسول الله؟ قال: لا، بل أنتم يومئذ كثير ولكنكم غثاء كغثاء السيل، ولا ينزعن الله من قلوب أعدائكم المهابة منكم، ولا يقذفن في قلوبكم الوهن. قالوا: وما الوهن يا رسول الله؟ قال: حب الدنيا وكراهية الموت.
Sheikh began by reading an ayat from the Qur'an from Surah As-Saff, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, verily Allah loves those who strive and they fight in His cause as if they were a solid cemented structure. He said, jihad must be in the cause of Allah, and not in the cause of Arab nationalism, nor American nationalism, or any other nationalism, and not in the cause of any race or country, but in the cause of Allah. And jihad is the peak of the matter, and jihad is the pillar, and it is with this jihad that the Muslims will fulfill or achieve their glory and honor and dominance and power and help from Allah. When the Muslims held on to jihad, Allah opened up for them other countries so that they defeated them. So they became rulers over these people, and they conquered the two great continents, meaning Asia and Africa, in the beginning of Al-Islam. And then they pressed hard against the third continent so as to conquer it, meaning Europe. And they gained control over the keys of the ocean. So the oceans and the seas, they became the property of the Muslims, surrounded by the Muslims on all sides. But when the Muslims left jihad, they lost their honor and glory and dominance. and the world forgot about them, and history forgot about them, and all of the ummahs or communities begin to come or to converge on the Muslims as the diners converge on a single plate. And then he read a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that is authentic, in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the day is about to come that all of the communities will converge upon this community as the diners converge on a single plate. The Sahabas asked, will it be because of our low numbers on that day, O Messenger of Allah? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, verily your numbers will be many, you will be numerous, but you will be like the foam of the ocean. And Allah will take out of your enemy's heart the fear of you, and He will place in your heart al-wahin. The Sahaba said, and what is al-wahin, O Messenger of Allah? He said, al-wahin is loving the dunya and being afraid to die. Here we begin by saying that I agree with the Shaykh when he says that jihad must be fi sabilillah, in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we know, al-jihad is a form of worship, and the worship in al-Islam is not accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except if two conditions are present. The first condition is that it must be for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the Shaykh said, jihad must be for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the second condition is that it must be according to what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought. So the jihad that the Shaykh is calling to, we agree with that it must be fi sabilillah. But the jihad that the Shaykh is partaking in that, innocent people are being taken hostages, innocent people are being threatened, are being killed, innocent people are being harmed because of this so-called jihad, we do not agree with that one bit. We know of the famous hadith of the first three people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will raise up Yawm al-Qiyamah, and He will reckon with them. The first three people will be reckoned with Yawm al-Qiyamah will be the man who read the Qur'an, will be the man who gave sadaqah, and will be the mujahid. The famous hadith that everyone knows of. Concerning the mujahid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will throw him in the hellfire because he made jihad, so that the people would say that he was a mujahid, so that the people would say that he was brave. Also we know of the hadith in which the people said to the Prophet, O Messenger of Allah, one of us he fights because he's angry, or he fights because it's his people. The Prophet ﷺ said, Man jahada liyan takuna kalimatullahi al-ulya fahuwa fi sabilillah. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever fights so that the word of Allah may reign supreme, the one who does this, he is the mujahid fi sabilillah. So we know that the Prophet ﷺ, he has legislated for us rules and regulations that are to be followed in the jihad. For example, there must be an emir who is obeyed. As long as he obeys Allah, the mujahideen are to obey that emir. As well as the spoils of war, they are divided in a certain way. The one who rides a horse, he gets more than the one who walks. He gets more than the one who rides a donkey. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has prevented the Muslims from killing old people, from killing children, from killing women, as long as they do not partake in the jihad. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam has also prevented us from mutilating the bodies of the dead people. So there are rules and regulations that must be followed in al-jihad. In a society like America, for an example, we have people who want to rob banks. We have people who want to enter into people's houses illegally and take their money and rape their women, and they say this is jihad fi sabilillah. This is not jihad. We agree with the Shaykh when he says jihad must be fi sabilillah. But when the Shaykh and the people who follow him, like his Jama'ah in Egypt, Jama'at al-Jihad or Jama'at al-Islami, these people have killed many innocent people for no reason other than those people may work for the government. For an example, the Jama'ah of the Shaykh tried to assassinate a few years ago the Minister of Interior in Egypt. This Minister of Interior built his summer home next to a school, an elementary school, where young children went to school, feeling that the people who were against him, if they wanted to kill him, they would at least take into consideration the innocent children and not try to kill them at that particular place. But the sheikh and his group planted a bomb there. The bomb blew up and killed some of the people of the sheikh, as well as some children, and the tyrant who they were trying to get rid of escaped unhurt. So they considered that the people who died, they died as mujahideen fi sabilillah. This is not jihad. What was the sin of the children? What was trying to be changed that children had to be sacrificed? If you work in one of the hospitals in Egypt, that the government sponsors it, and the army and the policemen, they go to this hospital to get treated. If you're a doctor or a nurse or a clerk in this hospital, you're open game for these people. Why? Because they use an ayah in the Qur'an, in Surah Al-Qasas, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ فِرْعَوْنَ وَهَامَانَ وَجُنُودَهُمَا كَانُوا خَاطِئِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, verily Fir'aun and Haman, who was one of the tyrants who was with Fir'aun, and their armies, they were all wrongdoers. So the sheikh, along with his group and the people who think like this, they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connected Haman, who was like a minister to Fir'aun, as well as his army. Allah said that they all were wrongdoers. So therefore, the sheikh, he calls to the assassination of innocent men who are in the army. People who may be more religious than you and I. People who have memorized the Qur'an. People who are teachers of the Qur'an. People who are teachers of the Sunnah. They are only policemen because it's a job. It's a way that one feeds his family. He has nothing to do with the government. He has nothing to do with giving allegiance to the president of their country or to what their government stands for. He's just a man who works for the army. Or he's a doctor that happens to be working in this particular hospital. Or she's a nurse that happens to be working in this hospital. Or she's a teacher who happens to be working in this school. But because the government is sponsoring this hospital or this school or this institution, then you're open game for the sheikh, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, verily Fir'aun and his minister Haman, as well as their soldiers, they were all wrong. So, is this jihad fi sabilillah? The second point here is a very, very important point because it's dangerous. We see that the sheikh is doing what many of the other deviance groups do when they take the Qur'an and the Sunnah and they change the meaning of it so as to fit what their methodology is, or to fit the main thing that they're giving dawah to. Because of the sheikh's zeal and his love for jihad fi sabilillah, he has taken a understanding that the Prophet ﷺ has explained to us clearly, and he has misconstrued it. He has misrepresented it. He has changed the meaning of it. And it's very difficult for us to think that the sheikh doesn't know the real meaning of this hadith, because it's a very famous hadith, and being that he is a man who concerns himself with jihad and the affairs of jihad and the mujahideen, you can rest assured that the sheikh, he knows all of the ayahs in the Qur'an concerning the jihad. Everything that's connected to jihad in the Qur'an, the sheikh has memorized. He memorized the Qur'an, as well as those hadiths that talk about jihad. The sheikh knows them. But this hadith in particular is a hadith that is hard to think it passed over the sheikh's his hearing and his knowing it. If we look at Al-Imam al-Nawawi's rahimahullah ta'ala, his famous book 40 hadith, hadith number 29, the sheikh in this tape, he said that jihad is the peak of the matter, and jihad is the pillar. This is in contrast to what the Prophet ﷺ told Mu'adh bin Jabal in this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ clearly stated in Arabic, رأس الأمر الإسلام وعموده الصلاة. He said, the peak of the matter is al-Islam and not jihad, and the pillar is salah and not jihad. So here we have the sheikh saying something opposite from what the Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, and this is extremely dangerous. The sheikh said Ra'sul Amr al-Jihad wa amuduhu al-Jihad, and I am not lying on the sheikh. You can go back to the people who know Arabic, and they'll listen to what the Shaykh is saying, and he's saying exactly how I'm translating. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said something, and the Shaykh intentionally has gone and changed the meaning of this particular hadith. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in an authentic hadith, he said, يحمل هذا العلم من كل خلف عدوله ينفون عنه تحريف الغالين وانتحال المبتلين وتأويل الجاهلين. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there will always remain a people who will protect this religion, who will protect this knowledge. There will always be a group of people who will protect it. They will prevent the changing of the people who go beyond the bounds, those who exaggerate. They will always be prevented by these people. And this is what the Shaykh is doing here because of his ghulu, his exaggeration, his zeal and his love for jihad. He has changed the meaning of this hadith and he has gone out of bounds. He has gone beyond the limits. And the Prophet ﷺ said, and they also will prevent the lying of the liars, those who lie on the Prophet, those who lie on the deen. And he said, and they will prevent ta'wil al-jahilin, the tafsir or the explanation of the ignorant people. So the Shaykh falls in this ayah. This hadith is authentic. It's been narrated by a lot of the ulama. Shaykh Nasiruddin al-Albani, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, has called it an authentic hadith. You can find it, hadith number 485 in his Silsilat al-Hadith al-Sahiha, as well as hadith number 248 in the Mishkat. It's an authentic hadith. So we find the Shaykh changing the meaning of something that the Prophet said, and we all know that this is very dangerous because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in an authentic hadith, "Man kadhaba alayya muta'ammidan falyatabawa maq'adahu min an-nar." Whoever has intentionally lied upon me, then let them prepare their place in the hellfire. Let them prepare their seat in the hellfire. Whoever lies upon me intentionally, then let him prepare his seat in the hellfire. So a person may say, but the Shaykh, he did not attribute this saying to Rasulullah. He said, the peak of the matter is jihad, and the pillar is al-jihad. But he didn't say Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the peak of the matter, so he's not lying on a Rasul. He's just saying that from his own mind. Then we say, how can the Shaykh have the nerve to say something and to change something that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said? It is not befitting for a believing man, nor a believing woman, if Allah and His Messenger have decided an affair, for them to have any say-so about that affair. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has clearly explained to us that the peak of the matter is al-Islam and not jihad, as the Shaykh said. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has clearly explained to us that the pillar is salah and not jihad, as the Shaykh said. So how can the Shaykh say something other than the Prophet ﷺ said? The Prophet said in an authentic hadith that has been narrated by Imam al-Tirmidhi, and it's authentic. He said, نَبْدُرَ اللَّهُ امْرِئًا سَمِعَ مِنَّ شَيْءٍ فَبَلَّغَهُ كَمَا سَمِعَ. May Allah bless the individual. May Allah bless the person who hears something from me and then he relays it as he heard it. So, if we hear hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we should relay it the way we heard it. The people from Jamaat al-Tabligh, they take the ayat from the Qur'an, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Kuntum khayra ummatan ukhrijat lin-nas." You are the best ummah that has been brought forth for the people. This word ukhrijat, you can get from this word the word khuruj. Ukhrijat, khuruj. They say that they go on this khuruj, this jawla. So they take this ayat from the Qur'an and they say the people should be with us. Jamaat al-Tabligh is the Jamaat that the people should be with and that they should support. Why? Because Allah says in the Qur'an, "Kuntum khayra ummatan ukhrijat lin-nas." And they use this hadith, this ayah from the Qur'an to support what they're saying. But is that the understanding that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala meant with this ayah? Is that what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam understood? Is that what the Sahabas radiyallahu ta'ala anhum practiced and understood? Did they go out for 40 days? Did they go out for 30 days? So, the point is, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or his messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam decide an affair, and they say al-Islam is built upon 5 pillars, then we say al-Islam is built upon 5 pillars. If they say the peak of the matter is al-Islam, and the pillar is as-salah, and the uppermost part is jihad, then that's what we say. And concerning this particular hadith, there's a famous Hanbali scholar by the name of Ibn Rajab. Ibn Rajab was one of the students of Ibn Taymiyyah. He gave the explanation of these 40 hadiths. And he said, after bringing this hadith, he said, إن هذا يدل على أن أفضل الأعمال بعد الفرائض هو الجهاد. He said, this fact that the Prophet ﷺ said, and the uppermost part is jihad, this is dalil that jihad is the best deed after those things that are faridah, those things that are wajib, those things that are obligatory in Islam. After you do those things, the most important thing in this religion is al-jihad. And jihad is not the most important thing, because there's no jihad for the one who doesn't take the shahada and become a Muslim. There's no jihad for the one who's not praying. There's no jihad for the one who's not giving zakat when he has the zakat. There's no jihad for the one who's not fasting in Ramadan when he should or can be fasting. There's no jihad for the one who is not making hajj and he can and he should be making hajj. These other obligatory deeds supersede al-jihad. But after them, when it comes to the other deeds after the pillars of Islam, this famous scholar Ibn Rajab said the most important deed after these obligatory deeds is al-jihad. So again we reiterate, no doubt, the fact that this ummah has left al-jihad, it has had its evil ramifications. But the Muslims of the first community, these people who the Prophet ﷺ came to, and he took them out of the darkness and he led them into the light. He prevented them from worshiping men and stones and statues and the sun and the moon, and he brought them to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what gave them honor, and this is what gave them power, and not simply because they fought. Allah Ta'ala tells us in the Qur'an, إِن تَنْصُرُوا اللَّهَ يَنْصُرْكُمْ وَيُثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَكُمْ. If you people help Allah, if you assist Allah, Allah will help you. He will assist you, and He will plant your feet firmly. Ibn Kathir and many of the other mufassirun or commentators of the Qur'an, the people who have given the explanation of the Qur'an, they said the meaning of us assisting Allah is establishing His religion by doing the things that He has told us to do and staying away from those things that He has told us to stay away from. So, just picking up a gun and going out to fight is not going to bring the Muslims honor. Look at the condition of the Muslims today. The Muslims are fighting in Bosnia, the Muslims are fighting in Philippines, the Muslims are fighting in Somalia, the Muslims are fighting in Yemen, the Muslims are fighting in Kashmir, in India, the Muslims are fighting in Palestine, the Muslims are fighting in Afghanistan, the Muslims are fighting in Rwanda and so many other places. But in spite of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not given them the power, and inshallah we'll deal with that later on in the segment that's going to come soon. And for that reason, ikhwan, whenever the Muslims were defeated in any war, their leaders used to say to them, which sunnah did we leave? Which sunnah did we leave as a group of people? Or he would ask, what evil deed are we doing as a group of people? What are we doing as a group of people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't give us the help over these people? Famous scholar Ibn Kathir, who also was a student of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he has narrated a famous incident that is authentic that happened during the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second Khalifa of al-Islam, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and radiyallahu ta'ala an our mother, his daughter Hafsa, the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anyway, Umar, when the Muslims were trying to conquer a particular place and they lost, Umar wrote a letter to the leader of those Muslim mujahideen, and he gave them some advice. And of the many things that he said, I advise you people with taqwa Allah. For verily, these people, if you were the same as they were in doing evil deeds, then Allah will not assist you, because they have more power than us and they have more men than us. But when we make the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these are my words, when we make the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we fear Allah as He ought to be feared, then Allah has promised us the victory over those people. So, again, we reiterate that leaving jihad, yes, it is one of the reasons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has caused the Muslims to be put in this position that we're in. But it's not the only reason, nor is it the most important reason. The most important reason that we're in the condition that we're in today is because the Muslims have messed their aqidah up. And the Muslims have failed to understand this religion the way the Sahabas understood the religion. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
تحكم فينا الشرق والغرب وتحكم فينا الأعداء في كل مكان يوم تركنا الجهاد في سبيل الله. ويوم أن نعود إلى الجهاد سيتساقط هؤلاء الأعداء واحدا بعد واحد، ولا يستطيع أحد منهم أن يمس كرامة المسلمين، لأنه عند ذلك نستمد العزة من مصدرها الوحيد من عند الله القوي المتين. من كان يريد العزة فلله العزة جميعا ولله العزة ولرسوله وللمؤمنين.
MashaAllah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. The Shaykh went on to say, the East and the West begin to rule us. And the enemies everywhere have ruled us when we left jihad in the cause of Allah. And when we return to jihad, those enemies who have gained the rule and sovereignty over us, they will fall one by one. And none of them will be able to touch the honor of the Muslim, because on that day, the day that we return to al-jihad in the cause of Allah, our honor will come from Allah. Then he proceeded to read 2 ayahs from the Qur'an. One ayah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, whoever wants honor, for verily honor belongs to Allah. And in another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the honor is surely for Allah and His messenger and the believers. And then you heard the people make takbir, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Again, we must say that jihad, even in jihad, had its evil results. But it's not as the Shaykh and the people who follow him will have you to believe that that's the reason alone that the Muslims are in the situation that they were in, that they are in now. And I asked the question before, and I put this forth. The Muslims who are fighting, who have taken up the banner of jihad in the world today, whether it's in Kashmir or Bosnia or Palestine or Afghanistan or India or the Philippines or Somalia or Yemen, wherever the Muslims have taken up the banner of al-Islam, they've been fighting for years in some of these places, and as of yet, these people or these governments haven't fallen one by one as the Shaykh has claimed. If it was just a matter of taking up the arms and fighting, why haven't these governments so far been defeated? Even in Afghanistan, where the Russians were thrown out, after the Russians left Afghanistan, they started to fight one another, and that's what they're doing right now. Each side is saying that they're making jihad against the other side. Subhanallah. So, it's an understanding that we need to have, and that is, the mere fighting, the mere shooting and killing is not considered jihad in al-Islam. The Prophet ﷺ told us in the authentic hadith that we mentioned earlier, whoever makes jihad so that the word of Allah will be supreme, this is the one who is in jihad fi sabilillah, and not the one who just simply goes and he fights. He takes a gun and he fights. No, this is not the case. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised the Muslims victory in the Qur'an. And we know that Allah Ta'ala does not break His promise, as He said in the Qur'an in so many places. Allah Ta'ala does not lie. A'udhu billah. Allah Ta'ala has promised us. So these people are making jihad. Where is the victory? But instead, their people are getting killed, like in the case of Afghanistan. Instead, they are being killed for what? After that, I would like to draw your attention to the takbir that took place after the Shaykh said what he said. These people who make this takbir, the way they made the takbir, alhamdulillah, I'm sure that no one disagrees with me that this takbir is a bid'ah. If it was a good thing, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would have told his sahabas to do it. As he said in the authentic hadith, there is nothing that will cause you people to come close or will bring you closer to the Jannah except that I have told you about it. And there is nothing that will cause you to come closer to the hellfire except that I have prevented you from it. Famous hadith. So the Sahabas didn't make the dhikr of Allah like this, in one voice. One person says takbir and the rest of the people say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. This is an innovation. But there's something that's very important that we need to understand here. And that is, every innovation in this religion is going astray. And every going astray leads to the hellfire. So we understand from this hadith that an innovation in the religion is a major sin. It's from the kaba'ir. Because whoever does an innovation, the Prophet ﷺ has told us in this hadith, is a going astray, and every going astray leads to the hellfire. As well as the authentic hadith about the hawd of the Prophet. The hawd is the fountain of the Prophet. Or the Kawthar, as some of the ulama say, the Kawthar in the surah al-Kawthar, Inna ataynaka al-Kawthar. Verily we have given you the Kawthar, the fountain. The Prophet ﷺ will be given this fountain, Yawm al-Qiyamah, and the person who drinks from this fountain, he will never be thirsty after that ever. But only certain people will drink from this fountain. The Prophet told us, Yawm al-Qiyamah, he will be standing at his fountain and there will be a group of people from his ummah who will come to drink from this fountain. And the angels will start to push them away and to prevent them from coming. The Prophet ﷺ will plead and say, these people are from my community. They're from my community. The angels will say, إِنَّكَ لَا تَعْلَمَ مَا أَحْدَثُ مِنْ بَعْدِكَ. Verily you do not know what they invented in this religion after you. When you left, you don't know what they made up in this religion. They made up the birthday of the Prophet. They made up the 15th of Sha'ban. They made up this takbir, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. They made up so many other things in this religion that you didn't bring to them, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the Prophet hears that, the Prophet will say, Suqhan, Suqhan. Get him away from me. Get him away from me. So we understand from this hadith as well as the one that went before it, that a bid'ah is a major sin in Islam. Here we have the Shaykh Umar Afallahu anna wa anhu being quiet throughout the tape. Each time these people make the takbir, he does not make inkar. He does not admonish them. He does not change that which is wrong in order with that which is right. He doesn't do that. He allows the major sin to take place. Shaykh Umar's methodology is that he makes takfir of the rulers because they make major sins. One of the major sins that the rulers do is that they don't judge by that which Allah has revealed in many instances. Some of them have taken the legislation of the kuffar and replaced the Islamic law with the legislation of kuffar, with the kuffar's law. Some of them drink. Some of them do the things that the Shaykh has mentioned in this tape, in their oppression and their tyranny and so many things. These are major sins, and we do not defend these people if they do these things. We do not defend evil. So the Shaykh says that these people are kuffar because they do these major sins, and they do not judge by that which Allah has revealed. And we say to the people, this is wrong. This is not from the minhaj of the Salaf. We do not put the Muslim outside of this religion except if he says that something is which is haram and it's known to be haram and he understands it to be haram, he says it's halal. Or if something in the religion is halal and he knows it to be halal and he understands it to be halal but he says it's haram, this is when the person goes outside the religion. If he knows what he's saying and he says he makes something halal that Allah made haram, or vice versa, after he's been argued with and it's been explained to him and it's known, the argument has been established for him and he continues to do so, then he becomes a non-Muslim. But before that, we don't make people non-Muslims as the Khawarij did, simply because someone doesn't judge by that which Allah revealed. The people who eat and devour riba do not judge by that which Allah has revealed. How many people fit that category in America? The people who do not make Salatul Fajr in the masjid or on time do not judge by that which Allah has revealed. How many people fit that category in America? The people who make zina. Do not judge by that which Allah reveals in that particular issue. How many people fit that description in America? The people who do not give zakat, and they should give zakat. The people who do not fast, and they should fast. The people who do not come for hajj, and they do not make hajj. These are major sins. And how many people of the Muslims fit that category? I tell you, if every Muslim went outside of Islam because he made some major sin, know for a surety there will be no one left from amongst the Muslims. Allah's Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic hadith, كلكم خطاؤون وخير الخطائين التوابون. All of you are sinners. All of you make sins. And the best of you from amongst the sinners are those who seek the tawbah, who seek the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those people who are making tawbah consistently and constantly. These are the best of the people, because everyone sins. So, when a person is sitting in the audience, or he's sitting in the majlis, and he hears the people make this bid'ah, takbir, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, and he does not put the best construction to it by ordering with that which is correct and preventing that which is evil, know that he has committed a major sin. If he has the ability to do so, he is committing a major sin. So do we say that the sheikh has gone outside of Islam because he committed this major sin? Do we say that? No, we don't say that, because we have to look and investigate. Why didn't the sheikh do so? Is it because he felt if he did so there would be harm on him? Is it because he didn't understand that this was a bid'ah? And so forth and so on. Likewise, every single Muslim has the same right that we investigate before we make takfir of that Muslim. We must do this, or we're going to spill the blood of one another, or we're going to oppress one another. And that's why the famous Tabi'i Al-Hasan Al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala, he said in a famous statement, no one goes out of this religion except on yaqeen. We don't put a Muslim outside of religion except with clear evidence. Just as he comes inside of the religion with clear evidence, he doesn't go outside of Islam except with clear evidence. We don't say someone is a kafir simply because something that we think or something that we want. So I'm not saying that the sheikh is a kafir because he didn't tell the people this was a bid'ah and the bid'ah is a great sin and so forth. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if we were to take the sheikh's methodology in making the ruling on the other Muslims, then we will have no choice except to give him the hukm that he's given the other people. But we seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from being of those people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about them in the Qur'an, أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Do you order the people with righteousness and you fail to practice it yourself? Do you not reflect? Do you not think? Do you not use your mind? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
عندما تركنا الجهاد في سبيل الله اجتمع علينا عدوان، عدو في الخارج أمريكا وروسيا ومن لف لفهما، وهما يختلفان كل الاختلاف في العقيدة والنظام والحياة، لكن عند عدائهما للإسلام يلتقيان. تجتمع أمريكا وروسيا في المؤامرات والكيد والتدبير والحيل للنيل من الإسلام والمسلمين. والعدو الثاني هو الحكام الظلمة الذين ساروا في فلك الشرق أو الغرب وجعلوا البلاد الإسلامية مناطق نفوذ إما للغرب وإما للشرق. هؤلاء الحكام المستبدون الذين ظلموا العباد والبلاد وأخذوا أموال شعوبهم فوضعوها في بنوك أوروبا وأمريكا. هؤلاء الحكام لا بد أن تخوض عروشهم، ولا بد أن تزال ممالكهم، ولا بد أن تبدد هذه الحكومات، وذلك لا يكون إلا بمدافعة الظالمين والثورة على هؤلاء الحكام، ولا يكون ذلك إلا بالجهاد في سبيل الله.
The Sheikh said, when we left jihad, two enemies came against us. An enemy from outside of us, America and Russia, and whoever else is similar to them. And even though America and Russia, they differ from one another in theology and their systems and way of life, they are in agreement with one another in their enmity towards Islam, and they come together on that fact. They come together in designs and plans, and they join forces against us so as to destroy Islam and the enemies. As for the second enemy, the eternal enemy, the enemy from within, it's the Muslim rulers, the tyrants, those who operate in the orbit of the east or the west, and they rendered the Islamic countries places of executing the designs of the east or the west. Those oppressive, tyrannical rulers who oppress their people and the countries that they rule, and they store the monies of their people and they put it in the banks of America or Europe. Those rulers, their thrones must be destroyed, and their kingdoms must be eliminated, and they must be replaced, them and their government. And that will never happen except with fighting the oppressors and revolting against these rulers. And that's not possible except with jihad. There are a few things that need to be discussed here concerning the statements of the Sheikh that has been translated word for word, phrase for phrase, insha'Allah ta'ala. The first thing is that the Muslims of today, unlike the first Muslims who understood the Qur'an and who understood the Sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Muslims of today, they like to blame other people for their problems. Whenever things go wrong in their individual lives, in their lives as communities, in their lives as an ummah, internationally or nationally, they like to blame other people. America, Russia, the white man, the communists, whatever it is, they blame the other people. And this is a foreign understanding. This is an understanding that's not in harmony with the Qur'an. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly states in the Qur'an, وَمَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُم. And any catastrophe that befalls you, it is a result of what your hands have put forth. Whatever happens to you that is bad, that is evil, it is because of what your hands have put forth. When we mentioned to you what Umar said to the leaders of the Mujahideen when he used to give them advice, to tell them, don't be like the other people in terms of the evil that they do and you may be doing. The leaders of the Mujahideen used to ask their soldiers, what evil are we doing that we didn't get the help from Allah? They used to blame themselves. They didn't blame anyone else. During the battle of Uhud, when the Muslims were first defeating the kuffar, the mushrikeen, and then the archers who disobeyed the order of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they came down, and what happened. Everyone knows the story. The kuffar subsequently killed and slaughtered many of the Muslims. And after the war, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down a series of ayahs. One of the ayahs that Allah ta'ala sent down is ayat number 165 in Surah Ali Imran. Allah ta'ala says, أَوَلَمَّا أَصَابَتْكُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَدْ أَصَبْتُمْ مِثْلَيْهَا قُلْتُمْ أَنَّا هَذَا قُلْ هُوَ مِنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِكُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and when you were afflicted with a catastrophe that afflicted you before, it was something like it happened to you before, you people say, from where does this thing come? Why does this catastrophe happen to us? Where does it come from? Allah ta'ala says, say to them, O Muhammad, say to them, verily it is from your own soul. It's from you. You did. You're the reason for it. Not America, not Russia. The problems that we have as individuals, the problems that we have as communities and as an ummah is because of what our hands have put forth, and no other reason other than that. Yes, there are conditions that come about, but Allah Ta'ala has promised that if you do the right thing, if you help Allah and you assist Allah's religion by doing what you're supposed to be doing and staying away from that which you're supposed to stay away from, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is going to help you. A promise from Allah. It's as simple as that. Do what Allah says, Allah will help you. This is the sunnah of Allah. This is the sunnah of Allah that you will not find any change in. How do we expect? And I want each and every person who's listening to this tape to take a look at his own self. Compare yourself and the way you understand and practice Islam to the way the Sahabas practiced Islam. The brotherhood of the Sahabas, the honesty of the Sahabas, taking the Sunnah and calling to the Sunnah and practicing the Sunnah. Everyone knows his own special situation. Many of the Muslims are spending a lot of time doing that which is haram. Whether it's listening to music, some of us can't even give up music. Some of us can't give up TV and videos. Some of us can't give up listening to the disco music. We can't stop going to the movies. We can't stop things that are haram, simple things that the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahabas were far, far away from. So how do we expect this ummah, the way it is, the condition that we're in, the way we understand and practice this religion, how do we expect to be helped by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? And then we have the audacity to turn around and say, Russia, America, the white man, capitalism. What is this? This is a foreign understanding. Allah Ta'ala tells us in the Qur'an, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَمْ يَكُنْ مُغَيِّرًا نِعْمَةٍ أَنْعَمَهَا عَلَى قَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. That's because Allah will never change the condition, will never change the ni'mah that He bestowed on the people until the people change that ni'mah themselves. The first Sahabas came and they understood Islam. They understood the aqidah of Islam. They understood the minhaj of Islam. The people were pious. The people were honest. The people were close to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So Allah Ta'ala gave them the ni'mah. He gave them the ni'mah in the dunya, and then He'll give it to them in the akhirah. Look at them. Look what they did. And as a result, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala opened up the world for them. Allah Ta'ala brought them from the depths of darkness and ignorance, the jahiliyyah, into the light. And He gave them light. Because they made a covenant with Allah, they made a contract with Allah, they made a business proposition with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and they fulfilled that proposition. So Allah Ta'ala fulfilled His part of the bargain, and He gave them what He gave them. And then we came, lying, stealing, adulterers, fornicators, riba eaters. Yes, we devoured riba. Liars on Allah and His religion and the messenger. Liars to our brothers, to our sisters. Every word that comes out some of our mouths is a lie. And we're going to turn around and say, America? That's number one, concerning what the Sheikh said. America and Russia. I don't understand why the Sheikh fails to realize that the rulers that we have, the rulers that have been placed over us, that's because of the way we are. Again, it's like what the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib said, Zayn al-Abidin, when they came to him and they wanted him to fight with them, he said, no, I refuse to fight with you against this leader, Yazid. Why? Because he was the leader, and he knew it was haram for him to do that. He said, I refuse to get involved with this. They said, but you helped your father to fight. He said, if you bring me some men like my father, I'll fight with you as well. But you people are not like my father. And we have many instances like this. You bring me someone like Ali and the people who were with him, then I'll fight with you. But you people have other things on your mind. Likewise, do you expect us to have rulers like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar and Uthman? And look how we are. We will be the first people to rise up and revolt against them. Forget these leaders who we have today. We'll rise up and revolt against those people. Now we come to something that is clearly a contradiction and it's against the understanding of the Salaf, something that the Shaykh is calling to. This is clearly against what the Salaf is about, what we're about. Clearly against what the Qur'an calls to and orders with, and what the Sunnah calls to and orders with, and what the Sahabas and the people who came after them understood in practice. And that is that the Shaykh was calling the people to revolt against these rulers. Concerning this issue, we need to understand something, and please stay with me here. Put your emotions aside and let us get scholastic here. When we look at the Muslim world today, and we look at the rulers and these governments, these rulers and governments are one of two types. They're either Muslims or they're kuffar. We're not going to do what the Shaykh does. We do not say that they're all kuffar. No way. How can we say that? That all of the rulers of the Muslims are kuffar? All of them? Without any exception? This is crazy. But they're either kuffar and they're either Muslims. Concerning the Muslims, the Muslim rulers, who we know to be Muslims, the Qur'an has prevented us from going outside of their authority. The Qur'an has prevented us from revolting against them. The Qur'an has prevented us from these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the clear ayat in the Qur'an, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u ar-rasul wa ulul amri minkum. O you who believe, obey Allah and obey His messenger and those who have been put in authority over you. We have to obey those who have been put in authority over us and not revolt against them. This is concerning those who are Muslims now. That's the ayah from the Qur'an in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly prevents us from going outside of their rule. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, has told us in the authentic hadith. This hadith has been narrated by Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala. The Prophet said, عليك بالسمع والطاعة في أسرك ويسرك ومنشتك ومكرهك وأثرة عليك وأن لا تنازع الأمر أهله. This is the authentic hadith. Listen to the translation. The man came to the Prophet and the Prophet ﷺ said, I order you to listen and to obey your Amir, your leader, when times are easy and when times are difficult, and when you have energy and when you dislike doing so, and even if he plays favorites and he gives over you, you deserve, but he gives it to someone else, and do not revolt against him. That's a clear hadith from the Prophet, and do not revolt against him. In another hadith, the Sahaba said, بايعنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على السمع والطاعة في العسر واليسر والمنشط والمكره وعلى أثرة علينا وأن لا ننازع الأمر أهله. This hadith has been narrated by Imam Muslim rahimahullah ta'ala. The Sahaba said, we used to give the Prophet the bay'ah, to hear and to obey, when things are easy for us and when things are difficult for us, and when we have energy and when we dislike it, and even if they play favorites over us, and not to revolt against the rulers. This is an authentic hadith. The Shaykh Umar, he was in a country where Muslims were. He was in a country where Muslims were, and he was being led, he was being ruled in that Muslim country that is spacious, that is wide, where he could have went many places. But he chose to leave the Muslims and to go to America, and to call the Muslims in America to revolt and overthrow some Muslim governments. He called the Muslims to do that from America. He didn't do it from over there. He didn't go look for a place where he can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without the fitna. But the Prophet ﷺ said in his situation, and this pertains to the people who live with the Muslims in the Muslim countries under the Muslim rulers. He said من رأى من أميره شيئا يكرهه فليصبر فإنه من فارق الجماعة شبرا فمات فميتة جاهلية. This is the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet said, whoever sees something from his Amir that he dislikes it, anyone who sees something that he dislikes from his Amir, then let him be patient with that thing. For verily whoever leaves the Jama'ah of the Muslims one handspan and then he dies outside of the Jama'ah, verily he has died the death of Jahiliyyah. This doesn't mean he's a kafir. This means that he has died like the people of the times of Jahiliyyah used to die, when they used to didn't have anyone over them. They didn't respect any authority. They were like the people of Jahiliyyah. Prophet clearly told us, if you see something from your Amir that you dislike, don't revolt against him, don't overthrow him, subhanallah, but be patient. The Prophet said in another authentic hadith in Sahih Muslim, إنما ستقوم بعدي أثرة وأمور تنكرونها قالوا يا رسول الله فما تأمرنا بها قال تؤجون الحق الذي عليكم وتسألون الله الذي لكم. The Prophet said, verily there's going to come a time after me where people, the leaders, will play favorites. They will give things to people when other people are deserving of those things. And the Prophet said, they will do this, and there will be many things that you will dislike. They said, O Messenger of Allah, what should we do? What should we do, O Messenger of Allah? What do you advise us to do? He said, give them the haqq that they deserve, and ask Allah for your haqq that you deserve. So no one can blame me for saying, oh Abu Usamah, you're just afraid of jihad, or Abu Usamah, you're just in support of those rulers. I don't support these people. But the Prophet ﷺ is clearly telling us in these authentic hadith to do what? To be patient and not to overthrow the government. This is against the Qur'an and it's against the Sunnah. The second thing that the Shaykh clearly goes against the way of the Sahabas and the Salaf al-Salih is his getting in front of the people and exposing the sins and the evil doings of the rulers. This is not the way of the Salaf when it comes to giving nasiha. We know that the Prophet ﷺ said the greatest jihad is giving advice to the ruler who's an oppressor. The Prophet said this is the greatest form of jihad. And we know that giving nasiha, we shouldn't give nasiha to a regular person in front of the people. If I wanted to give nasiha to an individual, I shouldn't get up on the mimbar Yom al-Jum'ah. Now what we want to do is we want to take a look at what Islam says about giving nasiha to the rulers. We want to see what Islam says concerning that. The Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said in the authentic hadith that has been narrated by Ibn Abi Asim in his book Kitab al-Sunnah, hadith 1096. The Prophet ﷺ said, من أراد أن ينصح لسلطان بأمر فلا يبدي له علانية ولكن يأخذ بيده فيخلو به فإن قبل منه فذاك وإلا كان قد أدى الذي عليه. This hadith, you can find it in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. Ibn Abi Asim brought this hadith in his book Kitab al-Sunnah, hadith number 1096, and Sheikh Nasir said that it's an authentic hadith. Ahmad ibn Hanbal said it's an authentic hadith. The translation of this authentic hadith from your messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever wants to give advice to the ruler about a particular affair, then do not say it in public, but let him take him by his hand and let him seclude himself with him. If he accepts what you say, that is good. And if he rejects what you say, then you have done what is required of you. So the Prophet clearly tells us in this hadith, do not say it out in public. I read the hadith again to you. Whoever wants to give advice to the ruler about some affair, then do not let him say it in public. فَلَا يُبْدِي لَهُ عَلَانِيَةً. Do not let him do so in public, but let him take him by the hand and let him seclude himself with the leader, with the ruler. If he accepts it from him, that is good. If he rejects it, then he has done what he is required to do. This is the authentic hadith from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is not me talking. This is the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the authentic hadith. Now we'll look at what the Sahabas did. During the Khilafah of Uthman ibn Affan, Uthman, when he became the Khalifa, he put a lot of his relatives in very key positions in the Islamic state. He made them governors of some key areas like Muawiyah, and like other people, he put them, a lot of his relatives, all over the place, and the people didn't like that. So what happened was, some of the people came to Usamah ibn Zayd, one of the greatest Sahaba, one of the most knowledgeable of the Sahaba. This hadith has been narrated by Imam Muslim. They said, "Oh Usamah, would you not go to Uthman and admonish him about what he's doing?" This is what the people said. The people who came and their iman wasn't strong and they wanted fitna. The people who subsequently murdered the Khalifa. At this point we need to understand, when these people did this with Uthman, they murdered him. They're making this inkar on him openly, admonishing him openly. It led to them murdering the Khalifa. And this door has never been closed since that day. Since they murdered Uthman, up until this day, we have these problems. From Uthman's murder up until now. This is dangerous. To show you the danger of this situation. The first people who started to admonish the Khalifa, the leader, out loud, they subsequently murdered him, made his blood halal, for no other reason other than they disagreed with his methodology. They disagreed in what they thought was evil from him. So they admonished him in public, and then they went and they murdered him, and that door has been open since today. The fitna came to the ummah from that day, from this door, up into today. So they came to Usamah bin Zayd. They said, "Usamah, why don't you go to Uthman and admonish him for what he's doing?" Usamah said, "Atarun, anni la ukallimahu illa usma'akum, wallahi laqad kallamtuhu fima bayni wa baynahu, ma duna an aftaha amran, la uhibbu an akun awwa man fatahahu." Usamah said, "What do you people think? You think I'm only going to talk to him so as to let you hear what I say to him? I'm going to talk to him in public so that you can hear what I say to him? I swear by Allah, really I have advised him. I have advised him in secret between when it was only me and him, because I do not want to open a door that was never opened before this." Sheikh Nasiruddin al-Albani, he has a concise version of Sahih Muslim, the Mukhtasar of Sahih Muslim. On page 335, he gives the explanation of what Usamah meant by, "I do not want to open the door that never was opened up before me. I don't want to be the one who opens this door." Sheikh Nasir said, "Yani المجاهرة بالإنكار على الأمراء في الملأ لأن في الإنكار جهارا ما يخشى عاقبته." Sheikh Nasir said the meaning of his statement is, he didn't want to be the first one to open the door up, publicly admonishing the ruler in front of the people, because in doing so, that will bring fitna. So this is what the Sahabas understood. This is what the Sahabas understood and what they practiced. Now when we look down the line to see what some of the Salaf did, what we do is we look at the famous scholar Ibn al-Jawzi. Ibn al-Jawzi, he lived in the 5th century. He lived during the 500s. He said, "الجائز من الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر مع السلاطين التعريف والوعظ، فأما تخشين القوم نحو يا ظالم يا من لا يخاف الله، فإن كان ذلك يحرك فتنة يتعدى شررها إلى الغير لم يجوز." He said in the famous book Al-Adab al-Shar'iyya, he said, what is permissible in terms of ordering with that which is right and preventing that which is evil concerning the rulers, what we should do, what is permissible, is to make them aware of that and to give them a good teaching. as for saying a bad and a strong thing like, oh you oppressor, oh you person who do not fear Allah, he said, if this is to bring fitna, it's not permissible. This is what Ibn al-Jawzi said. Another scholar of the Salaf, Ibn al-Nuhas, who lived in the 6th century, he said, ويختار الكلام مع السلطان في الخلوة على الكلام معه على الرؤوس الأشهاد. He said this in his book تنبيه الغافلين and أعمال الجاهلين, page 64. And the type of speech that is chosen to deal with these rulers is the speech that is said in private as opposed to the speech that is said in front of the people. That's what the scholar said amongst the Salaf. Ibn Muflih, another famous scholar from the Salaf, who lived 760, he said, ولا ينكر أحد على السلطان إلا وعظ له وتخويف أو تحذير من العاقبة في الدنيا والآخرة فإنه يجب ويحرم غير ذلك. He said, it is not permissible for anyone, to publicly admonish the ruler. But what you should do is give a good preaching, and you should try to make him afraid, and you should warn him of the punishment in the dunya and in the hereafter. He said this is wajib, and anything other than that is not permissible. Now we come to the latter times, to the famous scholar from Yemen, Ash-Shawkani. Ash-Shawkani died in 1250 in the Hijrah. Ash-Shawkani said, ينبغي لمن ظهر له غلط الإيمان في بعض المسائل أن يناصحه ولا يظهر الشناعة عليه على رؤوس الأشهاد. Ash-Shawkani said in his famous book As-Sayl al-Jarar, book number 4, page 556, it is not permissible for the person who sees some evil that has come from the Imam in some type of issue, in a few issues, to publicly expose him and to talk to him in front of all of the people. These are what the things of the Salaf have said. This is how they understood the issue. People who took the religion and were known to be people who took the Qur'an and the Sunnah and who implemented it, who fought for it, who called to it. Now, when we look at our day and time, at the famous scholar who's living amongst us now, Sheikh Abdul Aziz ibn Baz, the Mufti of this place, Saudi Arabia, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he said, ليس من منهج السلف التشهير بعيوب الولاة وذكر ذلك على المنابر لأن ذلك يفض إلى الانقلابات. He said in his book حقوق الراعي والرعية, page 27, he said it is not the way of the Salaf to publicly expose the evil and the sins of the leaders and the rulers, and to mention that upon the mimbars, to talk about their evils upon the mimbars in front of all the people, because really that brings an inqilabat for the overthrow of governments. So what happens is, when we do this, a greater evil comes than the evil that we're trying to get away from. And we've been saying for the longest, the rule of Usul al-Fiqh, it's not permissible for you to do something if it's going to bring a greater evil. So, the Shaykh has called clearly in these ayat, in this segment of the tape, for the overthrow of the government. And this is something that is not permissible. This is concerning the Muslim government. Now, concerning the Kafir government, we agree with the Shaykh that if there's a Kafir government, it becomes wajib, obligatory for the Muslims to overthrow that government, because it's not permissible for a Kafir to rule the Muslims. And the governments that this is their condition today, whatever government it is, we have to ask the Shaykh. Allah has ordered us to make preparation for jihad. How does the Shaykh expect us to do such a thing? How does he expect us to go and to overthrow these governments? I don't understand. I think this is absolutely ridiculous to even get before the people and to make such a statement. If you're a person who's going to speak with knowledge, Don't play on the emotions of the people. Have them just to say takbir, takbir, make them feel good for a few minutes and that's it. We're going to leave America and leave the kuffar in America and go to kill the Muslims, or go to kill the kuffar leaders who are over the Muslims, and the Muslims who are in their armies, we're going to fight them as well along with these rulers. When the rulers give the army the order to fight back, we have to kill the Muslims from these armies. What are we going to do? Leave the kuffar and go fight and kill the Muslims? It's difficult to even imagine such behavior. It's difficult. It's crazy. So Allah Ta'ala has ordered us to make jihad, no doubt, and to make jihad against the kuffar and oppression, no doubt. But the question is how? How are we going to make jihad? Are we going to go and throw ourselves to destruction? We can't even choose a shura in most masajid in America without there being animosity between the brothers and the sisters in that masjid. How are we going to organize ourselves to go and fight these rulers? Sheikh Umar is the most, or one of the most vocal callers to jihad today. And after listening to his talk and his line of reasoning, I would never follow such a man. Not even in salah would I follow, would I pray behind him. I would never follow such a man who has this type of thinking, who does not look at the bigger picture. It's just an emotional thing. For our hate and our dislike for these tyrants and these people, that doesn't mean that Allah has ordered us to kill ourselves. That doesn't mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered us to be foolish and to be ignorant in the way that we act. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
حكام المسلمين لا هم لهم إلا أن يتربعوا على العروش، وأن تستمر حكوماتهم وسلطانهم، وأن يجمعوا من المال لأنفسهم. هؤلاء لا بد أن يزالوا ولا بد أن نجاهدهم، لأن الله سبحانه وتعالى أمرنا بذلك بقوله: ولا تركنوا إلى الذين ظلموا فتمسكم النار. وقوله سبحانه: واتقوا فتنة لا تصيبن الذين ظلموا منكم خاصة. وقول رسولنا الحبيب صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: أيها الناس، إذا رأيتم الظالم ولم تأخذوا على يديه يوشك أن يعمكم الله بعذاب. هؤلاء لا بد أن نجاهدهم حتى يبتعدوا عن الحكم، وتقوم حكومات إسلامية في كل دولة، ثم تلتقي هذه الحكومات ويكون منها الخلافة الإسلامية.
The Sheikh said, the Muslim rulers, they have no aspirations except to stay on their thrones and to have their governments and authority and to remain and to accumulate the money for themselves. These people must be removed, and we must make jihad against them, because Allah ordered us with that. He said, an ayat in the Qur'an in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and do not support those who oppress themselves, so that the hellfire does not touch you. And another ayah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and fear the fitna, so that it may not only touch those people who do it, but it may touch all of you. And he said that the Prophet ﷺ said, if you see, O you people, if you see an oppressor and you do not prevent him from his oppression, Allah as a result of that will cause you all to be punished. He went on to say, so we must make jihad against these people so that they will be far away from the rule. They will not rule us, they'll be far away from ruling. And after that, there will be Islamic governments. In every country there will be a government, and these governments will come together, and then out of that will come the Khilafah, or the Islamic government. This part of the talk of the Shaykh, I think I've already dealt with most of it concerning his calling to the overthrow of the governments of the Muslims and we realized, or we explained, that this was not permissible according to the Qur'an and the Sunnah, as well as according to the understanding of the Sahabas and the righteous scholars from amongst this religion. As for the non-Muslims who are controlling the Muslims, who are in control or ruling the Muslims, we've all come to the conclusion, insha'Allah ta'ala, that to call to that is absolutely ridiculous at this particular time, because we don't have the means to do so. Now we must make a few points here concerning, again, the line of reasoning of the Shaykh. The Shaykh has informed us, while he was in America making this lecture, for the information of the people who are listening, the majority of the Muslim scholars today in the Muslim world, the major Muslim scholars of this ummah, like Al-Albani, Abdul Qadir, Al-Arnaout, Ibn Baz, Ibn Uthaymeen, Abdur-Rahman, Ibn Jibreen, the majority of the scholars of the Muslim world today, they say, to live amongst the kuffar, this is a form of paying allegiance to those people. So why is it that the Shaykh goes over there, he calls for this jihad and he calls for the implementation of the Sharia, but he goes to the kuffar in order to seek resonance with them? We see that the Shaykh is telling us that when we rise in revolt against these governments, we fight each government wherever they are, and then after we topple these governments, the toppled government will be replaced by the good people, the mujahideen. Then the mujahideen will come together and they will agree amongst themselves to make the khilafah. This is dreaming only. The ummah, we are not understanding Islam properly for such a thing to take place. And if you don't believe me, just believe what your eyes and your intellect is telling you. The waqi', the condition of the Muslim world is telling us this. Let us look at Somalia. When this man was ruling Somalia, the Sheikh said this man was a kafir, Saeed Bari. They got rid of him. And when they got rid of him, they started to fight between themselves. The clans were fighting and killing one another. Look at Afghanistan. They got rid of the Shah, they got rid of the Najibullah, and after getting rid of Najibullah and getting the Russians out, they're fighting against themselves. Somalia, same thing. In Yemen, the south and the north, same problem. Palestine, the PLO was fighting against Hamas. Hamas is fighting against the PLO. What is this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَكُلُّ حِزْبٍ بِمَا لَدَيْهِ فَرِحُونَ. Every hizb, every group is satisfied and happy with what it has. So, if a group has the ability to overcome the government, know for a surety that group is going to implement its plan and its program. And it's not going to try to make any khilafah with anyone else. Why? Because we're not practicing Islam on individual basis yet, so that when we get to that stage, it'll be easy for us. So this reasoning of the Shaykh, I think, is only a dream. Let us go fight, overthrow these countries, and then after that all of the countries come together, and from that the khilafah. It's that easy? I mean, it's that easy? 1, 2, 3? The fix isn't that easy. It's not that easy. Again, the Shaykh is one of the main callers to jihad in the world today. I swear by Allah, I would never follow this man. Not in jihad and not in anything else. And I would just like to mention something concerning the jihad that took place in Afghanistan. About 5 years ago, during the jihad in Afghanistan, the Muslims, alhamdulillah, the spirit of jihad was awakened in them, and they had the opportunity to go and to participate in jihad. So you had people from all over the world come in to participate in this jihad. And when the people got there, they found a lot of strange things. They found that the people, the mujahideen, were many jama'at. There were different jama'at. There was the Arabs who were fighting. There were the Afghanistanians who were fighting. So the people were either with the Arabs or they were with the Afghanis. And the strange thing is that the Afghanis were people who are very shadeed on their madhab, on the Hanafi madhab. This Hanafi madhab, these people prolong the time that they make Salatul Fajr. You can see the sun already up, but in their madhab, because of a certain authentic hadith, they like to prolong the Salah. And this is what they do. So what happened was you had half of the people praying when Fajr came in, like the Muslims normally pray today. When Fajr comes in, the Mu'adhin makes the Adhan. After 15-20 minutes, the people pray. But then you had the other people still sleeping, and then they got up when the sun almost came up because they were Hanafi. And you were warned when you got there, do not get into religious discussions. What kind of jihad is that? Don't get into any religious discussions because you're going to wind up fighting with one another. If you tell these people, what are you doing? Follow the authentic hadith. Follow the authentic hadith. If you were to do that, you will be rebuked and reprimanded. What kind of jihad is that? The Muslims, one army. Half of the army is praying at one time, and the other half is praying at another time every single day. And you couldn't have any religious discussion. And even stranger than that is what happened in the place called Qunr.